Hola, how are you?
Good. Welcome. Welcome.
It's good to be here.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the alternate point of view. This is my partner in crime, China from,
West Virginia,
and your channel is
the Sixth Commandment.
The Sixth Commandment. China also does a true crime, as well as I do on the alternate point of view, and I do other topics as well. The Sixth Commandment and I have partnered together to do a recap, sort of, but we have decided to do what we feel is the most heinous acts of 2024. A couple of things that we wanted to discuss as far as what we felt were uh, the most disgraceful, most disgusting, uh, vile acts against humanity that we could discuss that happened as far, I mean, really, if you can honestly, China, that we could think of that could, I guess, put the icing on top of the icing on top of the cherry on top of the cake, as far as just really what would you call it?
Oh, there's so much going on in 2024. The ones that we're going to talk about today, I would say the most unbelievable or unforgettable.
Right. That's a good term, unforgettable. And honestly, a lot of them did get a lot of attention, but some that didn't get enough attention. I would say a couple of them didn't get enough attention, but a lot of them did get a lot of attention. More than uh, some of them, I would say I couldn't even, and I know you couldn't. We talked about a little bit, but some that were so just disgusting that I don't think you and I could even get through. Uh, some of the things that happened, we couldn't even finish talking about. And I think even when we get through a couple of these, we're not even going to be able to finish talking about, or, I mean, because it was just so awful. And when we talk about these events, these things that people did, uh, honestly, when we were trying to discuss the top five, these are the top five. We're not going to go through because there's so many horrific things that happened in 2024. We just had to cap it at five because, I mean, we could honestly go on and on and on forever. If we were going to talk about everything that happened in 2024, we just can't. But we decided to cap it at five. And honestly, the most awful things that happened were against children. And we're both mothers, so obviously we picked things that happened to children. And you can't get more heinous than that. And that's how we felt. So we picked five things, and those five things were against the little ones. And I think what one thing that stood out for you was something that you cannot forget, and that was Timothy Ferguson.
Yes, yes. Timothy holds a special place in my heart out of so many others, but it's just something about Timothy's case that I believe will always stick with me forever. Um, Timothy was special needs. He was only 15, and Timothy was tortured slowly by his biological mother and his oldest biological brother. Um, they pretty much starved him and tortured him to death. I
Yeah, and
don't know. I some I don't know. To me, it's just like with Timothy, I just felt so bad for him. I felt bad for all of them, but I guess where he was much older and his torture was so long, and it was it's just something about Timothy that I will always hold in my heart. I will never forget that case, never.
So Timothy was special because, I mean, they're all special, obviously, but Timothy in particularly because he was 15, but he was autistic.
Hmm.
He looked uh, like a small child, like he was in elementary school, the size of him. He was kept locked away in a closet. He had to sit in his own bodily fluids. He was starved and emaciated. And the most horrific part was, watching his mother act like she had no idea that this was going on.
Yeah, of course, just watching the trial and stuff, you know, she seemed to act like she was smarter than everybody else. And I mean, it's crazy too because to me it seems like she was a manipulator from the beginning. Now, just a little quick history on that. Like as we can remember, she wasn't even supposed to have him from the beginning. His father had won custody of him after their divorce, his biological father. So, he had him for quite some time. And then all of a sudden, he decided he couldn't control him anymore. Like he was just getting out of control. It was just too much for him to handle. So, of course, so we say, we really don't know that's how it goes, but this is just what these two tell us. But, that he asked the mother to take him. So, still in the back of my mind, I think that something should have been done to the father in this case because, he was the one that had custody of him and he knew that she wasn't supposed to have him. And he knew the reasons why from, before. But she said at work, she worked at the courthouse that she was being trialed at. And she worked at another one prior to that, but she got fired because the amount of time she was spending on her phone, and that's because she would spend her day on her phone monitoring Timothy, watching Timothy. And they went online and found the hottest, what Elijah's extreme hot sauce or something like that they found. And that was part of his punishment. They would give him that on top of the ice baths and the torture. Like it's like she lived to torture him. She took joy out of torturing him.
And
So
if you notice, the older brother also looked very emaciated as well.
yeah. Um, I don't know. There just seemed like to be some other stuff going on with him to me as far as like, the mindset. But yeah, he was kind of tiny too. And I watched a little bit of the interview of the little boy that they done with the little one. And, there wasn't much difference for him either. So you just never know what goes on behind closed doors. Never know.
No, it's really sad that she worked in the courthouse. So I wonder, like, how many trials she sat through with similar cases, and it
Hmm.
just seemed to not faze her at all.
Hmm. I
So,
just always wonder in the back of my mind, what was she thinking? How did she think this was going to turn out? Did she think that he was going to live like forever? She could just constantly keep torturing him. Like, how did she think that this was going to turn out? And the sad part was, it's the lawyer that her attorney made a point to, said that he like before all the trial or anything, just when she worked there, that he would pass her in the hall all the time. So now, what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just don't, I don't know. Timothy. I will never forget Timothy.
yeah,
Never.
I don't think any of us will ever forget Timothy Ferguson. That is definitely, and I hope that everyone understands that in this video that we are really talking about the victims, the children that were lost. I hope that everyone understands that this is about the children and not about these horrific people that took their lives. I don't want to focus on the horrific people that were placed on this earth and did these horrible things. This is about the children, and I hope everyone knows that The main, actually, a huge focus of this video is going to be about just the lack of morality and the lack of what China and I are true believers of God, and just the fact that the lack of God in our society and the lack of morals that what we have lost so slowly, and what we believe is is really just uh, that God has been taken out of our society uh, bit by bit by bit, and we're seeing that as we're watching these trials, as we're watching this crime, as we're watching and we're reporting on it, and we're doing it in our videos, and we're seeing that every single day the the brutality and the literal just lack of remorse that people have for what they're doing, and especially with these cases that we're talking about today that involve children. It just is shocking. And we think, just when we think we've seen it all, we haven't. And when we see someone who has literally starved a child of that age to death, that is just it's beyond us how that someone can do that. Um, So the second one that we found to be just also very appalling is uh, Jalen Candelario, who was a 16-month-old baby who was left in her pack and play for 10 days while her mother decided to go on a vacation, a beach vacation, and left Jalen alone. And I don't know what she thought was going to happen. But again, another 16-month-old. I did a video about this baby because what I did this video, I was comparing this because so many people are fighting for the right to my body, my choice, and they're saying they're calling babies parasites or, you know, whatever fetuses they want to call it, and they're saying that you know they're calling their bodies hosts, and these babies are parasites that can't that they can't live on their own, what have you. But a baby cannot live on its own. So if your body is its host and a fetus is a parasite, then what is a baby outside of the womb? It's not a parasite. It's a baby. So this 16-month-old Jalen Candelaria was a baby. She was a 16-month-old who needed her mommy. And her mommy didn't think she needed her for 10 days so she could go on a beach vacation and left her in a pack and play. So make that make sense. So when you abort a child, which is a baby, it's not a hoe, it's not a parasite, it's a baby. So I don't know, China, what your thoughts are on that, but when you call a baby in the body a parasite, and then you can also say that people are like, oh my God, they left a 16-month-old alone for 10 days. How awful. You know, make it make sense. But she went on a beach vacation for 10 days and left Jalen alone. And Jalen starved to death and lived in her own feces.
Yeah, she left for 10 days. Was it to Puerto Rico with her boyfriend
Yeah,
or a
yeah, for
guy
a guy
friend?
she just met.
Just met.
Yes,
Yep. But she was supposed to originally go on vacation with her mother and father and her older daughter, her oldest
yes,
daughter.
yes,
But at the last minute, she decided she was just going to stay.
yes.
Now, if that was the case, why didn't you let Jay Lee go too? Why would you make the choice? Now, you knew why you were staying back. Why would you make the choice to leave her there, knowing you were going to leave? Why didn't you just let her go with your parents too?
Yes.
I don't understand it. She 10 days. I covered her story on my channel as well. And the part that really got me, I think this case was out of Ohio, but the part that really got me is when you could hear her crying in the middle of the night on the neighbor's Ring doorbell camera.
Yes.
You know, she's
Neighbors heard
crying.
her. Yes.
And I think they said it was like just a few bottles of milk, not enough to even take her 10 days. She had feces in her mouth
Yep.
and in her fingernails. What was it? Crystal? Crystal came
Crystal's the
home.
mom's name. Yes.
Oh, she came home, found her, dressed her like
Yes.
nothing,
Yes.
called 911, act like she had been sleeping all day and or
Yep.
something, and she had found her and just act like everything was normal.
Yep.
And all along she had left that. Could you imagine? Like, could you even put that in your mindset as a mother to leave a child home at that age, any age below 18 years of age for 10 days?
No.
And even
No.
at 18, I would have, make sure that, there's an adult there with my child, but eight, I, I don't know what to even, I don't even know what to think about it.
No. I say this all the time on my channel. My son's 24 and I still track him. He's on Life 360. He's married and I still track where he's at. Are you
I
kidding
have
me?
all three. Yes, I have all three of my kids' location. Yes.
Yeah.
Like I just thinking about, I don't want to think about it. Like
No, no.
it's
And
horrible.
it may be because we're paranoid and we do this on YouTube, but no. My children are grown and they're still on Life 360. So
Yeah.
there's no way. No way. And what's crazy is I think she before she left for the 10 days, she came back and packed.
hmm There was video on the neighbor's camera, another video on another neighbor's camera showing her loading her suitcase and stuff in the car. But
Yes.
before that, she had went shopping and bought things for the trip.
Yes. Yes.
Didn't take
So,
her then. She didn't. She left her at home then
yes.
when she went shopping.
Yes. So that again is another situation where a mother starved her child, left her child. So this is just absolutely, again, we when we went through the cases for the year, it was like another situation where this is absolutely horrendous. It's not just the selfishness and the it's not just young mothers. It's not just young people doing this. These are their the Timothy Ferguson situation. This mom was older. She'd
hmm
already had grown children. So this the Jalen
That mind
situation.
you, that don't
Yeah.
have anything to do with her.
Yes. So these are situations that are varying in types. So, poor Jalen suffered. Babies can't tell you. They can't say this is what's wrong. You're as a parent, you have to have instinct and know, and Timothy with autism, he can't just like tell you, depending on what type of autism he has, he couldn't just say, here's what's bothering me, here's what's wrong. You have to have that motherly instinct, which she clearly did not have. And you
No,
could tell that with her on the stand.
no.
So these were two similar situations, just different age. Both
Timothy was 69 pounds, and
awful,
then and Jaylee was only 7 pounds.
awful. I mean, the size of a newborn,
Mhm.
absolutely awful. So these are very, just terrible situations and very heinous and disgusting. And glad, just happily they got life. These people. So
Absolutely.
again, this is where these people clearly don't have God in their hearts or in their lives, and something is missing. So, and I don't even know if they had God, what would would that have helped? I don't even know. Some people are so selfish. I don't know. What do
Well,
you think?
I, I guess it depends on how deep they were into their, their religion, their faith, their beliefs.
It would have to
Everybody may
be,
say a prayer here and there and know God, but do you really know God?
yeah, it's got to be in your heart. It's got to be so deep embedded in you that Satan can't take over, you know?
But I guarantee you, all the acts that these mothers made were not godly.
Oh no, it was definitely not God. That was not
Not
God.
godly.
So, our third actually occurred, I believe, in 2021, but it didn't gain any traction until 2024, which was last year, obviously. And this is something that hit me because I literally could not believe that a mother could do this. And she recorded a video afterwards and was very proud of herself and had no remorse whatsoever for what she did. Her name was Claudia Hernandez Santos out of California. Her daughter, her beautiful daughter, which I also did a video about, Erle, uh, her last words to her mother was, "I
I
love
love
you."
you.
And this happened in a makeshift church in the backyard of her father's home, the grandfather of Erle. Uh, for whatever reason, I don't know what their belief system was, but it definitely wasn't godly. It was some sort of, I don't know, but they did an exorcism on this 3-year-old child. It was the grandfather and the brother and the mother, Claudia. And they took Erle into this makeshift church and decided to do this exorcism on this 3-year-old child, and they were forcing her to vomit, forcing her to uh just they were strength choking her, um making her sick. They were doing these uh I'm not sure what they were doing to her, these crazy exorcism type things to her. They were trying to force a demon out of her, whatever they thought this demon was. Um, and the mother was fine with this. The uncle and the grandfather were continuously forcing themselves, the weight of them on top of this 3-year-old child, until she passed away. And the little girl was just begging basically for her life. She was, telling her mother she loved her, whatever she had to do, whatever she could say to her mother to make this stop. And her mother was not making it stop. Her grandfather was not making it stop. Her uncle was not making it stop. And this beautiful little girl just died. And
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and the mother recorded a video in her car, and like it was nothing. And just was like, well, she's gone and she's not coming back, and that's it. And yeah, and it was something they just had to do.
But the reason why they felt like she was possessed with a bad spirit is because she was crying and screaming.
She's 3.
Okay, she's 3, and the mother I know they tortured her for
Hours.
over, yeah, it was over 10 hours, and they consistently tried to pry her mouth open while the mother would stick her, I think her or the uncle would stick their finger to
Yes.
make her, vomit or whatever. But the force that they put on her when they were torturing her caused the injuries that it caused to her body was insane. And they
Yes.
said they said she put up a fight.
Yes.
Oh
10
yeah,
hours
10 hours.
for a
I
3-year-old?
I couldn't imagine. I don't know if I could make it 30 minutes.
I mean, that's like the torture for prisoners of war type of torture.
Yeah.
I
And the
mean,
mother was like, she knew. in her interview, she said she knew that she was possessed because she go to church.
What kind of
She
church are you going to? Because it ain't God. It ain't a godly church.
Well, see, that's the issue with the what I always never understood. If there's only one God, why do we have so many different religions? Like why is there so many different religions? I just think a lot of these religions are man-made.
Oh,
So,
they're definitely man-made because people branch off into their own religions because they want to make up their own. They don't want to believe the Bible. They want to
mhm,
branch off and make up their own rules because they don't like what the Bible says.
mhm.
So they want to
They
make up their
interpret
own
it the way
stuff. Yes,
exactly.
yes,
So yeah, you gotta, I always was taught um be careful who you have in your ear gate, you know,
yep,
because you can't be up on everybody's word.
yep,
Everybody's not in the pulpit called by God. So you
yep,
got to, like, I mean, if you have a relationship with God,
yep. That's why, like for me, church is not going to a building and listening
it's in the
to,
heart.
right. It's right here. It's right here with you and God.
The
So,
building is just where we go to worship Him,
yes.
where we gather together to worship Him. But it's in your heart, of
Yeah.
course.
You got to be careful though who's up there talking because you never know because it's just the way they interpret whatever they're talking about. Because
Mhm.
and sometimes people forget that we're worshiping God, not the person at the pulpit.
Mhm.
Because that's what happens
Yep.
sometimes. People end up worshiping that the person at the pulpit preaching the word and forgetting that it's the God in the Bible. That it's the
Mhm.
God, not the person. So that's something we have to
Absolutely.
differentiate. But that was terrible. She was so pretty, such a pretty little girl. So
Yeah, she was gorgeous, but mom looked like she wasn't all there, and I don't know, like of course, everything falls on mental health, So, and that I get sick of hearing that too. Like, why didn't you, if you knew that you had mental health problems, why didn't you get help? And going back to baby J Lee, her mom was on mental health medication and quit taking it.
yes, yes. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna say, and I'm just gonna say this as I always say, I think the mental health thing is used overused. I think people overuse that in court. Um, but that's just me because we all mental for something. We all mad here, but if I wanted to use my mental health as a reason for doing something, there'd be a lot of dead people. So, okay, there's one other. The next one is a case that I know that we were on. This is how this is a reason my channel got a lot of attention. This is one of the ways we met, and this was Corey Michelow.
Corey, yes.
Corey is a case that I think we all bonded on. This was a case that we all felt it touched us one in the same. Uh, Corey Michelow is one that I think is never going to be forgotten. And I think it's going to always be known as the treadmill trial, because this is something that hurts us all as mothers. Sorry, my dog has to be in every video. Um, but Corey Michelow hits us all hard as mothers because if you've ever had a situation ever, and as a mother, where you've had your child and you've raised your child, and somebody's come along and been like, oh no, I can do a better job than you, or you've had a father step in out of nowhere, and you've had a situation where somebody had more money than you. I've been there, so I know where you had to compete with money, and here this father comes along and says uh that he's going to take the child, and he gets custody of the child, and he hadn't been in the child's life in 6 years, and all of a sudden he gets custody. How does that even happen? And
Yeah, I think when he got custody is when he actually first met the little boy.
yes, didn't even know him.
Didn't know him.
he gets custody, and here we are. And then what happens? He
Mhm.
starts abusing him right away. And then did you saw the treadmill video? Everybody saw the infamous treadmill video. And then what happens? He abandons him at a hospital and leaves him all alone as he is leaving this world. And that's something we're never going to forget, where poor Corey loses his life after being on this earth 6 years, where he was completely fine with his mother. And now Corey is gone. This is something that I think is absolutely horrendous. It's horrible. It's awful. And the saddest part is there was no remorse from his father. He was only sorry for himself. He fled. He left the state. And I think there's more to that story than we saw, but I definitely think it's one of the most heinous cases uh, that we saw last year, and it definitely got a lot of traction. Um, and I definitely know that that was devil's work right there for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. His father was a spoiled brat because his father was a state trooper in that area. Was it New Jersey? Can't remember exactly where this case was, but his father was a state trooper and he had been getting away with stuff for quite some time. And I mean,
Yes.
if you even remember, even during the trial, how his father got up and, tried to, act like, this and that, and they love Corey and blah, blah. Love don't hurt.
Yep.
Love
Exactly.
don't hurt. And this little boy was terrified of his father, and to drop him off and to go back to pick him up and be told that you had to take him to the hospital, but won't tell me what hospital you took my son to. See, he was just evil.
Yep.
He was just evil, and he just got caught.
Definitely.
Thank God for that video camera in the gym because that told it all. If it wasn't for that, we may not never ever know what happened to Corey.
Oh yeah, for sure. The video definitely. I mean, made all the difference, because if it weren't for that video, we wouldn't have had it at all. So I think, you know, if it weren't for the video, and actually that video being played over and over and over again, made the difference. But uh just the saddest thing that we've ever seen. No, I want to say ever seen, but I will say that was a very, very awful thing. And the fact that, that family had to go through that trial, and that he didn't take a deal, which is even, that's another thing that bothers me, is these people don't take deals. Just take the deal and not let the family have to suffer more.
Right, right.
So,
But they do that because they think that they're innocent. They think that they can prove that they're innocent.
yeah,
All
yeah,
all because she went to the state to get assistance.
yep,
It caused them to request child support from the father. She
yep,
gave up his name. So this is how Chris gets involved with Corey. If it wasn't for that, he ain't thought about getting involved with Corey. He
no,
ain't thought about looking for Corey. He hadn't even thought about being in Corey's life.
no, one
But
bit.
e- even with that, you know, the multiple, it was over 100 times that she had contacted DCFS to report the abuse,
Yep.
and they
That's
did
a fail in the
nothing.
system.
I hate the child welfare systems anymore. Like the case, just with the cases and stuff I cover, and then see their involvement. It's so similar in every case of how much they do not do their job.
Yep.
It's just sad.
Yeah, they don't
It,
they don't do it's just, well, honestly, the system is short-staffed, but that shouldn't be an excuse. They should actually be able to, there should be another way. There has to be another way. I mean, there has to be a way to help these children. But
Yeah.
that leads me into the final case, which is the one that we are having the hardest time with. Uh, and that one is the case out of Georgia, um, because that one is the two fathers that woo, and this one touches me hard because these kids were adopted. And this one touches me hard because I am a huge advocate of open adoption. And these guys did obviously a closed adoption. Um, but they say they do home studies. They say they do background checks. They say they do this, that, and the other. But these guys were well off. They had good jobs. They, supposedly came through with their background checks. They interviewed their friends, whatever. They had a nice house. Um, but they adopted two boys. And uh they ended up doing absolutely vile acts with these boys. They even had an OnlyFans, which is absolutely disgusting with these boys. They trafficked these boys. They did disgusting and vile acts with their sons and shared it with their friends and repeatedly stated to their friends that they were going to go have acts with their sons. Now, these are the same friends that supposedly were probably interviewed before and by the adoption either agency or whomever before they adopted the boys. And I don't know if you looked at that picture I told you to look at, where they're all wearing their pride shirts, and you can
Mm-hmm.
see the one little boy kind of pulling away from one of the dads, where he doesn't seem comfortable, where their faces are blurred out. So the boys' faces are blurred out. We don't know their names, obviously. The fathers were given 110 years, which isn't enough. I think the fathers, but they might enjoy it. Let's not get twisted. I would say that the fathers should be um, done the same way as the boys, but they might like that. So I don't know. So what do you? Well, I can't really talk much about that because I tried to listen to Court TV and Law and Crime about it, and I couldn't even finish because it was so vile.
Yeah, the fathers were they were kind of young. I think they were in their early 30s.
Mhm.
But their whole ideal of adopting these boys was to do what they did. That was their plan from the beginning. And it OnlyFans, I'm pretty sure you have to pay to see special content. So if they had an OnlyFans page, that's more sickening. And it's even more sickening is that they allowed their friends to also, with their sons. Like, I don't know. These boys will be messed up for the rest of their lives. I mean, they will. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Mendez brothers a little bit, but I just don't know. I don't even know what to say about it because they could have done any of the things that they did with these boys with adults if they chose to do it. And they knew that the only way they would have access to the boys, period, was to adopt. So they played the system. They played the system, got these boys, and now they'll be messed up for the rest of their lives, all because they wanted to adopt. Now, I try not to judge, each to their own. When I die and leave this earth, I can only answer for me. I can even. I'm
I
back.
know. Sorry, we had a glitch in the matrix. So you were saying that you are not one to judge, but there's always a but when we say that.
Yeah, I normally don't try to judge people, their life choices or whatever, but I just wish that people wouldn't force their choices on others unless they have the same choice. So like if that's what they wanted to do, then they should have found other guys that like the same thing. You know what I mean? Because they already know that that's their choice. But for to do that to a child is just those boys didn't make that choice. They thought they were going to have a loving family. You know? Yeah.
Well, what makes me wonder, and I think I've talked about this in the past, I have a friend who was trafficked, and she is making a series about her experience. And what I wonder is if these guys have done that, how many other people have done this? So it is highly concerning to me if they have done this. And it's not even just these guys. There are people who do this to their own children, um, who are, and adopted children are your children. So it doesn't matter if you're adopted or you're biological or what have you. But there are people doing this every single day, every second of the day. So, it's just shocking to me that people do this to children at all, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you've seen this yet or not, but there's a very limited series on Netflix about the Jerry Springer show. And I just watched it, and they were talking about how they were trying to build ratings, build ratings, build ratings, and they actually had a series, a show that where a girl called in and she said, I would like for you and to make my father stop ordering me on the site where I am a prostitute, basically. And I've been on this site since I was 16, and my father keeps ordering me. And of course, she goes, and, they do the thing. And so they were like, that's an interesting story. Will you come on the show? And of course, she did. And they put them in the same hotel under aliases. And the producer goes to her hotel room, and the father opened the door in a towel. And the producer quit the show because he was like, now we've gone too far.
Seriously.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, I thought a lot of his shows they were paid
no.
to
If you watch that Netflix documentary, you'll see that it was it was hard for me to watch actually because I actually did not realize how much of that stuff was true and how far those producers would go to get those people to really do the things they did on that stage. Real people, real people. So this is not too far of a stretch. Actually, so to cap this episode off that we're doing, I just want to say there are a lot of really gross, disgusting, awful people out there. And what you and I have talked about, just in getting to know each other and knowing that our hearts are in the right place and what we're trying to do here, uh, different from other crime channels, different from other YouTubers, is really just to point out, from just reporting the trials and just reporting what's happening out there in crime, I want to show people that what we're trying to show is what we're missing. What are we missing is humanity. We're missing God. We're missing the fact that we treat people less than human. We're forgetting that, when we talk about each other, when we talk to each other, we're not talking to each other anymore. We're talking at each other. Something that's missing is, I always say, social media is the devil. Um, it was great when it started. I think there was good intentions. I think it was great for information, the information highway. I remember when I was in school, this is going to age me more, but we had typing class. We didn't have computer class. We had typing class.
yeah,
Um,
me too.
so, things have changed a lot. And I think what's happened is, that instantaneous I want more views, I want more clicks, I want more this, I want more that, and I need to have it now. Everything's changed. And I believe that people now don't understand or don't want to understand the consequence and repercussions of their actions. And we say this a lot, and I think we both say this a lot. And even kids, they just don't understand that
Mm-mm.
it ends right now. It's over. It's a done deal. So I just feel like you and I both agree that, we don't have the understanding, or we don't want to, as I said, that when you say, like I saw on Twitter one day, or X, or whatever you want to call it, somebody made the comment uh about the New Orleans guy that did the, like, we're going to 2025 with a bang, the guy in New Orleans who did what he did, uh, they said, he was an Army vet, a Texan, U.S. citizen, and uh, something else. But he wasn't an immigrant. He wasn't all the things that we are, talking about now at top topics. So who do I hate? That's what the person said. And I was like,